Hello, my dear students. Today we are going to critically analyze a poetry which is prescribed in your syllabus and is titled The Retreat. It is written by the poet named Henry Vaughan. And let's first begin with the timeline of the author. Henry Vaughan, 17 April 1621 to 23rd of April 1695. He was a Welsh metaphysical poet, an author, translator and physician, which shows that he was a prolific medical practitioner, but he chose to write poetries as his passion. The themes that he covered in his poems were devotional and religious. And today, one such poem we are going to study, that is The Retreat of metaphysical poetry writing. And the basic theme that goes into such poems are that they talk about something which is beyond this physical world. As the word meta means beyond and physical means these worldly affairs. So something which is beyond the physical world is metaphysical. That's why you will see that generally the poetries have a spiritual or a devotional tint of mind or a bent of mind. Plus, these poetries are very obscure in nature and the metaphysical poets use very obscure symbols and images. In this particular poem, which we are going to talk about today, it is a spiritual poem, a devotional piece, and the title given is Retreat, which means returning back. So, from where and to where are we returning back? So, basically in this poetry, the poet wants to convey to us that he wants to return back to God. He wants to return back to his innocent days when there was no experience, no shrewdness, no cunningness, no knowing of these worldly affairs where people become corrupt. And when talking about the structure of the poem, it is divided into 32 lines and the rhyme scheme is AA, BB, CC, DD and so on. So, two of the lines, basically you can say it is a rhyming couplets. Rhyming couplets follow one another. But somewhere you will also find half rhymes or para rhymes also used. But the general rhyme scheme is AA, BB, CC, DD and so on. Starting off with the line by line analysis of the poetry. Happy those early days when I shined in my angel infancy. Before I understood this place, appointed for my second race. So the poet wants to say here that he is wishing for those happy days which are gone, the early days. What were those early days? Those were the days when he was an infant. He was angelic in nature because infants are generally innocent. They don't know the corrupt nature of this world. They are new to this world. So they have this kind of purity in them. They have this kind of angelic beauty in them. The beauty of the soul. But now he is trying to understand this place, and when he understands this place better and better, he feels that it was better when he was a child. Before he was totally able to grasp this place, totally able to understand this place. But now he has come finally, and this is his second race actually. This is the second place where he has come to. The first place was where he was in the arms of the God. Now it is his second race, and obviously he is not enjoying this second race. He is craving for the time when he was an infant, or the time when he was with God himself. So there are two meanings actually. One is that he is craving for his infancy. Another one is he is craving for being with God or being in heaven where before he was born. So he is trying to retreat back to both these places. Plus, when he's talking about this term second race, then he is trying to say that both the thing. The second race means he's being born, and obviously his second race means he's growing up From infant, he has moved on to his second part of the world or second part of his life, where he is a mature person and he realizes experience and he is craving for innocence. So these are the two things. Plus, we'll talk about the second stanza. Or taught my soul to fancy aught but a wide celestial thought, when yet I had not walked above a mile or two from my first love. And looking back at that short space, could see a glimpse of his bright face, when on some glided cloud or flower my gazing soul would dwell an hour. And he says that before his soul was able to understand this place, before he taught his soul how to adjust in this new world, before he could totally grasp this place, there was something celestial in his mind. There was something celestial, something white, something pure. All these words signify purity. Something pure was in his soul. But as he walked step by step, mile by mile, from 1 to 2, he was getting away from his first love. So his first love is basically God, and step by step, when he is growing up, when he is becoming more and more aware of this world, he realizes that he is leaving back his innocence, he is leaving back his purity, he is leaving back the white and pure, the celestial thoughts that he was having earlier. Because he remembers that when he was a child, he would wait or pause near a cloud or a flower. He would gaze at those things and he could see in those flowers, in those natural beauty, the face of God himself. He could see his bright face, the glimpse of his bright face could be seen. So this his is obviously God, and God's face he could feel in all the natural things around him, be it a cloud, be it a flower. But step by step, now when he is growing old, he is not able to have those pure kind of imaginations. And in those weaker glories spy some shadows of eternity. But I taught my tongue to wound my conscience with a sinful sound. Those were the times, those were weaker times because it was in small span, but those were the glorious times when he could see the shadows of eternity. Eternity is God himself, he is eternal, and his shadows can be seen in the things which he has created around us, basically the natural things, the flowers, the trees, the various seasons, the beauty of the nature. So that he used to enjoy earlier. But now he has taught his tongue to wound his conscience. So he is himself hurting his own soul because he has taught his soul the ways of the world. And now he has feeded his soul with sinful sounds. And with those sinful sounds, because he have had all those bad experiences in the world and he is gaining from them, he is learning from them, and he is actually giving it back. So he is applying them in his life. So he says that those sins that he has started committing, and the sound of those sins that he is committing is reaching his soul, his conscience, and in that way he is wounding, he is staining his conscience. Next stanza he says, or had the black art to dispense a several sin to every sense, but felt through all this fleshy dress bright shoots of everlastingness. Oh, how I long to travel back and tread again that ancient track, that I might once more reach that plain where first I left my glorious train. So he says that he had started from one point. That point of time was very glorious. That train of his journey which started. So he's comparing his journey of his life to a train. And he says that train which started, which was very glorious in the beginning, is now moving or treading towards the track which is actually not very suiting to the author or the poet. And that's why he wants to go back, wants to travel back to the same old track from where he has started. The railway line follows the same track. So here he says that, or the train follows the same track. So he says that he has started his journey, and the journey has started which was pure in the beginning, but now he is dull and bored of this journey, and he feels that this journey is not a good one. So he wants to return back following the same track so that he can reach to the same point where he had started, and that point is he wants to reach back to God. And he says that whatever he has learned in this world, he has learned to please his senses. We as human beings are a prey or a slave to all our senses. We try to please our senses, and if our senses are pleased, we feel we are pleased. But that is not only the ultimate goal of any person. So here he says that he has started pleasing his sense, and that is a kind of black art, black magic, he says. It is not very nice, very pure thing to do, because he says that purity, something which he is not saying here is that purity is in helping someone else. Purity is in trying to curb your senses, not to let your senses ravish whatever it gets all along the way. So he's saying that he started pleasing his senses, and he started using all the black magic which he could do to please his senses. So again, black magic is the worldly things that people indulge into. It is an analogy, and he compares again his body, the outward body, our flesh, to a dress. He says it is like a fleshy dress, but in his fleshy dress, in his body, which is not permanent, which will decay, which will die one day, in that non-permanent body, which is like a dress which he'll change, what is eternal is the soul inside. So from the soul there is shooting out of the everlastingness, shooting out of purity, shooting out of the feeling that the soul which is there inside the body, it is eternal, it is one part of the God himself. And that's why he feels that the dress or the body is just like a dress, and it is a metaphor which he is using here. And he says that it is just like a dress which he will shed away, and after his death, and he will become one with God himself. He would retract or retrace back his steps from where he had started to the same place once again. He wants to go back. From whence the enlightened spirit sees that shady city of palm trees. But my soul with too much stay is drunk and staggers in the way. So he says that where he wants to go? He wants to go back to that same place from where God is. The enlightened spirit is the God. God is seeing us down towards us, and we are here in the shade of the palm trees. But what has happened? He is so much intoxicated by these worldly affairs that he feels that he has emptied some kind of alcohol to his senses or to his soul, and his soul is totally drunk. And because of too much stay, because he has stayed too long in this place, the soul is drunk. The soul has taken all the worldly materials into him, and now it is staggering because of the intoxication of the alcohol or the gin or the rum, whatever he has consumed. Means the soul is now not the same as it was in the beginning. It is not pure. It is staggering. It does not know back his he cannot trace back his way home because he is drunk, because he is too much intoxicated. From some men a forward motion love. And he says that anyone want to move forward in their life, want to take a next step towards their life. But I by backward steps would move, and when this dust falls to the urn, in that state I came, return. So he's craving to get back to that state from where he has come. And that state was that every human being is made up of dust and they go back to the dust. So he says that finally he wants his body to be collected in an urn, in a vessel where the ashes of the dead body are kept. So he wants to become one among those ashes. He wants to die actually to get back to the place where he had come from, to go back to return back to God. And that's why he does not want any forward motion in his life. He wants backward steps. He wants to go back to the ashes. He wants to go back to God himself by having his permanent eternal sleep, that is death. Now a quick look at the important points. Here in this poetry, the poet talks about the poet's desire to return back to innocence, to retreat to his angelic infancy, to become a child once again, because childhood is innocent and is free from all the malices. Because as we progress towards experience from innocence, we taint our conscience. And here we can have his philosophy parallel to Kabir's philosophy or to Blake's philosophy, because Blake has written songs of innocence and songs of experience, and there he talks about innocence and experience in both the different categories. And obviously we know Kabir's philosophy is always talking about the body being something which is like a dress. He compares his body repeatedly to a kind of chunri. He gives that comparison, and he says that he has tainted here when he has come into this world, and when he wants to go back to the God, he wants his tainted chunri to be pure. And that's why we can have an analogy of Kabir's philosophy and of Blake's philosophy to this poetry. Next, as the poet was a child, he had not come far away from home, because God's place is the first step is coming from God's place is becoming a child. And at that time he enjoyed nature, and he enjoyed God's magic, and he would feel the presence of the supreme power everywhere, in every natural things around him, just like flowers or clouds. And his conscience is now tainted, and he uses the analogy of black art for it. Still, the poet can feel shoots of light emerging from his soul. Here again he uses the symbol of a dress, or the metaphor of a dress for human body. Why? Because a dress is always shed and changed, but the illuminating soul is eternal. The dress, which is obviously your flesh, will go back to the ashes, but the soul is eternal. It will not die. And he wants to get back to God, to that enlightened spirit. And by being here too long, poet is intoxicated, as if drunk by worldly vices, and staggers in his way. So there is no definite path to follow. He does not know where he has to go. He is totally lost in this world. And that's why he realizes that the best thing is to return back to God. Only way to return back to that place is to go back to the place from where he has started, is that he can go back in the form of ashes kept in an urn. And that signifies that only through death he can reach back to that place of the heavenly abode of God. And thus he wants to get assimilated in nature. He wants to become one with the ashes, or one with the soil, and reach back to God. So the poetry basically talks about attaining eternal peace, attaining inner peace, attaining salvation. In Indian philosophical term, you can call it moksha. He wants to return back to God and to his innocent days. He wants to return back to nature. So these are the repetitive themes which have come up throughout the poetry. And it was one of the metaphysical poems by Henry Vaughan. And that is all about for this poetry. Thank you.